In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to edit your Total Tank Simulator game files so that you can basically create your own balancing patch or a low-level version of a mod. Now, why might you want to do that? As we know, Total Tank Simulator is a fantastic game, but it is absolutely riddled with balancing issues, which basically means that some units are so much more valuable and overpowered than other units, and this just basically gives you the ability to customize that and change that to however you want it. And this is just a small selection of just how overpowered some of these units are. Now, this video is going to be split into two different sections. First of all, we will be covering the surface level statistics. When I say surface level, I mean kind of things like the color, the name, how much does it cost, the kind of menu statistics, if you will, that don't necessarily actually impact the performance within the game. And then after that, we're going to be going into a much more specific deep dive into the performance of each individual unit that you can also customize in terms of the shell type, the rate of fire, the magazine size, if you really want to get really down into the detail. But before we can actually make any of those changes, we first have to find the file. So you can hold Control-N, which brings up your file explorer, but I obviously have mine down here. Now, very important, Steam is installed in one specific location. For me, it is on C, so make sure you find where you've installed it and open it up. So if I go into my C drive and I go Program Files 86, you can then see down here I have Steam. So open up Steam, and then you want to go to Steam Apps, and then straight through to Common, and you should find Total Tank Simulator down here. Now, obviously, you have to have this installed for it to actually appear here. If it's not currently installed on your computer, you will not see it. So open up Total Tank Simulator. You want to go Total Tank Sim _ data, and then you want to go down into here to streaming assets. And as you can see, we've already found unit stats. Now this bit right here is very, very important. Now we found the unit stats. If we open this file up here, you'll see it's literally just one file, okay? Now we could now go in and customize all of these files and do whatever we wanted, but that would be saving that directly back onto the game. So what I would recommend doing first is Control-C and Control-V this out, or save it into a specific location that you're going to know how to find it. So if you are messing around with statistics and then Total Tank Simulator starts to crash, you can then copy the original file back in and you won't have lost anything. So yeah, I would definitely recommend saving this in another location first before we go in and start playing around with statistics. Now that we've saved that away in a safe location, we can now look to open this up, and as you can see, it opens in a notepad file. If you don't have notepad, I definitely recommend getting it. You may not be able to open this in other formats anyway, but basically this is just the raw data. There's nothing else here. There's no other hidden code. It's literally just what you see. Now if I scroll right down to the bottom right here, I'm at the very bottom line, and as you can see, there are 17,500 lines of code, which obviously none of you want to be actually scrolling through to find what you need. So this is another very, very important part of the tutorial. Basically, what you want to do is hold Control F, and you'll see right here a little pop-up box has come here, which is saying find what? Find head. If I wanted to put down, let's say tank. If I wanted to say tank and I wanted to search down here, because I'm currently at the bottom, I'm currently on the very bottom line, it will not find anything down below me. But once again, guys, you hold Control and F to bring this box up, okay? Now, obviously, we would want to search up, because otherwise it's not going to find anything below that point. It's only going to find stuff that's above that point. Now, as you can see, as soon as I've pressed next, it has come straight up with tank right here, and it will continue doing that, and it will continue going all the way up to the top here, scrolling all the way, finding every single instance of the word tank. So this is how you can really easily, specifically find the units that you want to customize. But don't worry, I know there's still a lot going on here. I'm going to give you a simplified process of how to edit each type of unit in one go. So now, using this Control F function right here and typing in smoke and pressing down, we have managed to automatically find ourselves the first instance where the letters together, smoke, it doesn't even have to be a word on its own. As you can see here, Soviet smoke artillery is bunched into one word, but it has just chosen not the individual word, but the arrangement of 5 characters that has SMOKE. So you can find basically anything you want within this file. Now, at the start of the video, I said I was first going to show you the surface level statistics like the price, the color, the cost, all this kind of stuff that are basically, I'm going to call them menu statistics. So that's what we're going to cover here first before we go into actually editing the in-game properties of the unit. So as you can see, what we have here is we have this little well, basically that here. I don't know what you call these square brackets, right? And basically, unit identification is 0. So each one of the nations has a different number allocated towards them. So if you look down here, we know this is Soviet because it says Soviet. So Soviet is 0. We look down, Germany, right here, Germany smoke artillery is 1. So generally speaking, in fact, actually they are. These are all bunched together. So if I scroll down, you'll see we then have Italy smoke artillery. We then have USA smoke artillery. We then have British smoke artillery. So this makes it much easier to edit these surface level statistics. So for example, when we're talking about surface level statistics, right here, you can see the price is set to 200 at the minute. So it costs 200 to put a smoke artillery down. Now, this is what I mean by surface level statistic. This is something that's in the menu rather than an in-game property. So if I was to put this to 50 right here and I was to save this and open up Total Tank Simulator under the Soviet tech tree, rather than being 20 points to put down, it's now going to be 50, which I will show you now. But before you load the game up, make sure after you have made the change, you have to every single time click save. And also, this is very important, if you're working out of a file that is not in here and has been saved elsewhere, then obviously that won't update, because what's going to happen is the game is going to reference specifically this file. Now, the name has to stay the same, so make sure the name is units_stats, and basically just swap it out with the more up-to-date version. So make sure that this is the one that you're actually customizing with your backup saved elsewhere. So what we've done right here is we've loaded up the flat map in Total Tank Simulator. Having just saved that file, you can see if we come down for Germany, the price is 200. If we now come down for the USSR, you can see that it's that save that we just made, that change right there that you just saw me do, is now worth 50. So that right there, that simple mechanic is going to allow you to rebalance the game in terms of how much everything costs. So for example, something like Flak 88 that's just really overpowered, you could make that more expensive and rebalance the game. And you can also use this to specialize teams. So you could make British Air Force cheaper, you could make Polish infantry cheaper, to give them that bit more of like a speciality, if you will. Now we use that for smoke artillery, but as you can see, using Control F to bring this search box, we have now come up with rifleman. And if I press up, as you can see, it's going to take us straight to the, who's this one right here? It's going to take us straight to the Italy rifleman. We go up again, it takes us to the French rifleman, and again we go up to the Polish rifleman. So that's how you can customize, and as you can see, they're bunched together. So that's these surface level statistics are all bunched together, and they're for every single nation. You can specifically edit them from every single nation, but then the deeper property in-game mechanics, you can't actually customize them differently for each nation. They are specific to that unit type. So for example, if I wanted to make smoke artillery cheaper for Germany and more expensive for Russia, I can do that. But if I was to want to make the rate of fire better for the smoke artillery, that rate of fire would be better on all smoke artilleries across the board. Okay, so the surface level statistics are fairly self-explanatory, okay? They're just basically using Control F, you find each individual unit, you can change its cost, its name, its basically its color, all this kind of stuff. But what I want to do is I want to take you into the deeper mechanical properties of each unit. So once again, using the smoke artillery as an example, if I type in smoke artillery here and then I press down, you see what it's going to do is it's going to take me through all of these nations smoke artilleries right here. But then what it's going to do is it's going to suddenly jump down here, and the next one that it has found is the mechanical properties of that smoke artillery. Right here you can see it's called smoke screen. Right? And as you can see, it has a bunch of properties that I've already played around with. So these might not be the same as yours. But basically, what you can see is it has ammo type. It's got a magazine. You can see how many magazines it's got. You see the inner reload time, the outer reload time, the damage radius, all this kind of stuff, the shell type. Now, this is where it gets really a little bit more complicated, because what you do here, you have to make sure fits back into the surface level statistics, and you have the right things ticked to allow this override, because basically what we're doing here is we are overriding the initial statistics. So right here, using smokescreen as an example, once again, you can see I've got some things set to true. In fact, almost all of these are set to true. However, they probably won't start like that, okay? So if I was to scroll down here to the next one down, which is machine gun, you can see that their overrides are all on false. So that means it's going to use the original statistics. So by setting these to true, it means you can input your own statistics. So for example, if I was to put in, if it had 1000 ammunition, but the override ammo was on false, it would not give it 1000 ammo. You have to give it the statistic, but also enable that statistic. So whatever you put in here, it also has to be on true. So I'll give you an example of that. If I was to come down here onto the machine gun and I was to put damage out at 30, right? great, damage is down at 30, but it's false. So it's not actually going to make that a relevant statistic. So you have to make sure that is also set to true for that to actually be a mechanical property within the game. Now, something that might be a little bit confusing might be the inner and the outside reload time in a magazine. So basically, what we've done here is we've given it a magazine of 50. And when it says override inner reload time, the inner reload time is the inner reload time between the shells in that magazine. So it's a 10 shell magazine, right? It's got 50 magazines. And basically what that means is that this smoke artillery is going to shoot a shell every 0.2 seconds until those 10 shells are done, and then it's going to have its proper reload time, which takes 10 seconds to reload a new magazine into the smoke artillery. So it can get a little bit confusing, but just by spending a little bit of time in here, you can begin to understand kind of the mechanics behind that. And there's a bunch of different things you can do here. Now, unfortunately, within this, you can't actually make the smoke artillery do damage, but what you can do is you can, on different tanks, you can change their shell type. So, for example, if you have a heavy tank, and you want your heavy tank to be shooting a different shell type, what you need to do is you'd look at your heavy tank and you'd look at your light tank and you'd be like, okay, I want that heavy tank to shoot the same shell as that light tank. You go find a light tank and you copy and paste its statistics and shell type into where the heavy tank is, and then you can use that big, beefy, scary heavy tank with a little pea shooter from a light tank. So basically, just by cross-referencing a bunch of different things, you can kind of begin to get an example of what's actually going on here. But just to bring it back to the smoke artillery for just a second, like I said, these surface level statistics like the color and the name and the cost, all that kind of stuff, apply to specific individual nations. However, when you're in the mechanical properties, you can see this is smokescreen. This will affect every single nation's smoke artillery and is not specific to the Soviets or the Germans or anything. So if I was to put down a Polish smoke artillery or if I was to put down a German smoke artillery, this will affect both of them. So once again, you can see right here the surface level statistics that we changed. 50, you can see it costs 50 for a USSR smoke artillery, but you can see that it's going to cost 200 for a German smoke artillery, and that's because those were the surface level statistics we changed. But if we put them both down, you will see they will have the exact same mechanical properties because they are not specific to one individual nation. So you'll see once these guys are reloaded, there we go, that's the 10 shells, and here's the 10 shells from that guy. So although they can have different surface level names, colors, costs, menu statistics, their mechanical properties within the game are going to be across the board. Now, if you remember the statistics that we changed this to, it had a 10 shell magazine with a 0.2 second reload between each shell and then a 10-second reload at the end. And hopefully, they're going to give us a nice little demonstration right here of exactly what they can do. So hopefully now I've made it very clear the difference between the surface level menu statistics and the mechanical properties of each individual thing, which hopefully after watching this video you'll be able to find each one and easily customize them to what you want. But when we're talking about mechanical properties, there's actually a lot of different values you can also change that go slightly even deeper. So you can see right here we've got a headshot modifier. This is right down at the very bottom on line 17,452. We have a headshot modifier that we could increase. We could make that 2. We could also put false. So it's currently false. If we were to put that to true and put that to 5, it would basically mean that every headshot from every weapon is going to probably be a one-shot kill. And there's going to be a bunch of these different things that we can actually do. So for example, when you really deep dive into the mechanical properties of each unit, you can see things like armor type. Now, if you were to then press Control F and search for armor type, you could find armor type 1, and that would basically, because all upgraded light tanks are going to have armor type 1, you could edit the armor for all upgraded light tanks. So effectively, now I know where this is anyway, so this upgraded light tank right here with armor type 1, if I was to scroll right down to the bottom, once again, you could do it by typing in armor type, but because I know where it is, I'm just going to scroll right down to the bottom, and as you can see straight away right here, we found armor type number 1, and there's a bunch of different things that reference this, so you've just got to keep scrolling using the Control F feature, keep scrolling till you find what you want. But right here we can see armor type 1. We could customize the modifier, we could customize the damage type, basically allowing us to upgrade all light tanks or upgrade all heavy tanks, or make it more difficult for assault rifles or grenades to damage those armor types, all that kind of stuff. We could just beef up tanks in general, because let's be honest, tanks in Total Tank Simulator kind of suck. Now, there's a lot of implications for what you can actually do with these unit stats, and what I'm going to be doing next week is I'm actually going to be releasing my own balance file. So I'm going to rebalance the whole of Total Tank Simulator and release a file in my Discord. I'll probably post it out on Twitter and all that kind of stuff as well. So if you want to download that, you can. But what I'm going to be doing in there is I'm going to, for example, be making flak more expensive across the board and reduce its damage a little bit. But I'm also going to be going in and I'm going to be trying to make each individual nation have a lot more of like a speciality. So the UK's Air Force is going to get better. The German tanks are going to get better. The Russian units are going to get cheaper. I'm going to make the Italians anti-infantry by buffing up their armored cars. I'm going to make the Polish infantry better. I'm going to make the French bunkers better. And I'm going to basically try and make this game not only just more well balanced, but have a little bit of like a unique speciality for each nation. So you could be like, oh, they're that nation, I should probably pick this nation to oppose that, rather than all of the nations kind of just being the same. So if you want to see that, guys, make sure you do subscribe and stay tuned, because next week I will be releasing that video with the file link down below, and I'll be releasing it in my Discord and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully this will allow you to play around with the game a little bit more. But just remember, make sure you save a backup file so that you're not customizing your game too much, because if you mess around with the statistics too much and confuse it and you don't type stuff in wrong, the game might not load, and you want to have a saved copy that you can copy back in there so that you don't have to completely uninstall and reinstall the game. But that is going to be it for today's episode. This is the first time I've ever done a tutorial on my YouTube channel, so I apologize in advance if it's a little bit messy. I tried to structure it out as well as possible, but make sure you stay tuned next week for my balance patch. I'll be making a video about that balance patch as well as releasing it. But thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed and liked the video, let's try and aim for, let's go for 100 likes on this video, and hopefully I will catch you again in the next one.